Welcome to Study Loop.
Here we're looking at water and glycerol, and we're asked, would you expect them to be miscible in all proportions? Here on the left, I'm showing you glycerol. On the right, I'm showing you propanol. Why do I do this? Because propanol, if you look in your text, is fully miscible with water. So recall that water can form hydrogen bonds. So in this case, you can have a hydrogen bond between water and this hydroxyl group. And so if water is fully miscible with something like propanol, which only has this one polar group to work with, then clearly water would be even more or just as miscible with something that has more of these polar groups to interact with. Okay, so since we know that propanol is fully miscible and it basically looks just like glycerol with only one OH group, then glycerol, which has more of these polar OH groups, would also be miscible with water. So the answer is yes. Part B asks us to list the intermolecular attractions that could collect between a water molecule and a glycerol molecule. We already talked about hydrogen bonding in the previous slide, where we have either the oxygen of the water interacting with the hydrogen, or the oxygen and the glycerol interacting with the hydrogen in the water. So these are hydrogen bonds that can happen. That's these. Dipole-dipole forces. We know that water has a dipole moment where the oxygen is negative, partially negative, and the hydrogens are partially positive. Okay, so water has these dipoles in them, and so does the glycerol molecule. The glycerol molecule has a number of dipoles, again, where you have this negative N on the oxygen, partially positive carbon, or partially positive hydrogen. So that's where the dipole-dipole forces come out. And then finally, London dispersion forces. We can have the dipole in the water cause a shift in the electrons along this carbon-hydrogen chain that can polarize. So we can polarize the carbon-hydrogen chain and thus make it attracted to the water molecule. So that's where the London dispersion forces come from.